Alright guys, I just want to say thank you so much for stopping by and checking out my review of my P1P Bambu Labs 3D printer. I'm going to be talking about printing PETG Plus and carbon PLA. Yeah, without an enclosure guys, without an enclosure. Just wanted to give you a quick little overview of my machine here. Picked this up with my own money. I did not get this machine as a review unit from Bambu Labs. Printed this little guy over here in carbon PLA, and then this over here on the side in tough PLA from Inland Micro Center filaments. Actually really nice quality filaments from Inland, and they seem to be working well. I initially had some trouble getting the Inland filaments to print with this machine, but after a while I figured out the settings and the temperatures and left the speeds alone. So yeah, wanted to get the door put in this one and enclose it somehow, but I've decided to not spend the money on that. I'm just going to go ahead and leave the machine the way it is right now, bone stock, and leave it open and just use this one to print PETG. And you know, it's printing carbon just beautifully, so I don't know if I really need the enclosure. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's going to be a very long video that's going to talk about my thoughts on how I saw the machine printing from beginning to end. All right, thank you again. All right, this is the PETG sample, the final PETG sample. Let me go ahead and show you some of the details here. The ironing operation, by the way, this was at 260 degrees, table at 80. The ironing operation turned out phenomenal, absolutely exceptional. Borderlining on an injection molded part, better than industrial grade 3D printers. The only tiny issue that I see is that I told it to randomize the entry and exit point, and you could see it on the vertical walls there. There's some tiny little pimples there on the flat walls. You can see where it entered and exited on the random. It's minor, you can barely notice it, but overall I would call this an exceptional print. Yeah, injection molded part quality using PETG Plus. This is Inland's Micro Center's in-house brand, Inland PETG Plus in transparent red, printed at 260. Mind-blowing, exceptional, phenomenal quality. Get yourself a Bambu Labs P1P or a P1S, because these things are phenomenal. This is the print bed that you want. The, what do they call this one? The textured PEI plate works exceptionally well with a little glue stick that's included. Just put a little glue on there and then re-moisten it with a little water between prints, and you don't need to reapply the glue stick. It's absolutely fantastic. If you watched this far into the video, I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you saw something that helped you make a decision on what kind of printer you should get. Subscribe to my channel, it helps me out. I really appreciate it. All right, this is what came out of the printer after the ironing operation has finally cured. I would say the part is of exceptional quality. Beautiful finish. The top surface is a little bit, kind of like there was a little bit of a pulling on the filament as I was doing some of the tighter areas, but overall, I would say I'm pretty damn happy with the ironing operation. This is pretty damn close to an injection molded part, I would say. The underside looks exceptional. The filament support, the support structures broke off in a single clean break, and they left what I would say is a pretty darn good, really beautiful underside. This machine just keeps on impressing me. Engineering grade 3D printing out of a sub-$1,000 machine. Really good quality. So I guess it's now doing the ironing operation. It's looking pretty interesting, I would say. I mean, you know, every slicer has its own way of doing ironing, and this one is looking kind of impressive, to be honest with you. Let me see if I hit the camera in here so you can see it. Yeah, that doesn't look bad. You know, there's a line there that's kind of picked up from, there's a camera there. There's a strange line that's showing up there, an artifact from a layer underneath. But I would say not a bad looking ironing operation. A little bit disappointed that it's imprinting from the bottom layers some of those weird artifacts that it's not melting it. It's not melting it. Let me crank up the temperature on this thing real quick and see if that'll maybe help it. Maybe that'll help it. Let's change the ironing operation temperature and see if that helps it have a slightly nicer finish. We jacked it up by 20 degrees Celsius and see if that smooths it out a little bit nicer on the second half of the ironing operation, because the stuff on the right, although it's nice, it's just not acceptable. Yeah, man. There is a difference between a hobbyist printer and an industrial grade friggin' printer. Alright, testing the P1P with the Inland Carbon PLA from Micro Center using Ludicrous mode here. So 166%, and you know, the quality isn't atrocious. I'd say the quality is kind of like acceptable. Yeah, this is normally an hour and 50-minute job, and right now it says it's got 35 minutes left on this job. Let's see how she does. Let's see the finished product. Alright, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about how the machine is behaving in Ludicrous mode. It's pretty carbon, and again, like I said, it's sort of acceptable in the quality. If you try to run this section of the part on any other printer at high speed, what happens is that the seam will show itself pretty violently, and you'll have like bulging on the side of the part with some pretty horrific, unacceptable features showing themselves up onto the part. So far, I don't see any bulging except for maybe in that little corner. Nope, I'm right. Nope, that's fine. That little corner is looking okay. And over here, again, it's looking okay. So the way that they're handling their G-code, the Bambu Labs software designers have done a pretty damn good job at handling a small little delicate part. You know, maybe 4 millimeters in thickness. That little piece actually is this is a chunk of a part that basically is like a mounting bracket for a digital display. And this little bit that it's working on right now is sort of like the sunshade to keep the sun out of the digital display when it's on. And typically, when you run a 3D printer very, very fast, right in this corner, you get an entire huge amount of deformation from the machine radiusing the corner or making the round. So clearly the machine has some sort of like high-speed look-up, look-ahead feature where it's accelerating really hard, and right when it gets to the corner, it's decelerating again really hard and getting through that corner fairly cleanly, I would say. I mean, right now it's printing at 0.28 millimeter layer height, and it's printing using Inland's carbon fiber PLA that they have at Micro Center for $29 a roll, which I think is a pretty damn good price. Thank you, Micro Center. It looks like it's some sort of e-sun filament that they've rebranded. Again, I'm not completely upset by the print quality here, man. And it's running in Ludicrous mode, and the top surface ironing operation there was a little bit mushy. I wish that would have been a little bit nicer. Side surface quality there is a little bit erratic, let's just say. But let's just see when the whole thing is done, I'll be able to evaluate the whole print job. All right, so some thoughts about the banding that people have talked about on the Z-axis. Apparently, so there's some sort of like kind of a banding or like little pattern that develops on the Z-axis. I haven't experienced that yet on my machine, although I suspect that can probably be tuned out by jacking up the voltage on that Z-axis motor to give it some more additional control at the cost of overheating it slightly. There are some little tweaks that can be done to try to correct for that, as well as the X and Y motor. But again, just experimenting, getting my feel for this machine and getting my understanding of how it behaves and how it works. So far, it's been a mixed bag of positives and negative vibes that I'm getting from this thing. It's certainly the future. I mean, I'm going to keep saying that as I, record my little video snippets of my experience with this machine. It's certainly the friggin' future, man. If you're one of the 300 3D printer manufacturers that are out there in the world, and you're not using or trying to copy this belt technology, if you're not on this right here, if you're not doing this, man, to some degree, if you're not making a lightweight armature made out of carbon fiber that can move fast, if you're not making a printhead that's lightweight that can move quickly, you're going to get left in the weeds. You might as well, start looking for a job, brother, because you're going to get owned by Bambu Labs and Creality, because their K1 machine is pretty much a clone of this thing, with a slightly heavier printhead, I guess. Can't wait to test their K1 Max, the 300 by 300 machine. Again, it behooves the people at Bambu Labs to, if you're going to retail these machines at Micro Center, have all your filament available there, so when people buy the machines, they buy your filament at the same time, so they can get home and start having fun printing. The part printed up in what's called Ludicrous mode, which is the entirely super fast printing mode, I guess. I don't know, it looks kind of okay for Ludicrous mode. This part normally takes an hour and 55 minutes, and it did this in 45 minutes, around there, or 40 minutes, yeah. In Ludicrous mode, switching it up, and I put an ironing operation on here, which kind of turned out a little iffy, but at least it's consistent. Let me pull the part off to analyze it a little bit more carefully. So analyzing the part as it came off the printer, wow, I really like how the support structure is handled in the Bambu Lab studio. That looks actually really nice. That was with 0.2 millimeter gap, and it came off in a simple twist, and carbon fiber is typically a pain in the ass. There's a little bit of a seam right there. It looks like there wasn't the most perfect adhesion between this section of the part in here. That looks like maybe that's gonna break right there. But the surface finish, holy friggin' my goodness, that ain't bad for friggin' Ludicrous mode. I mean, and here, this was my mistake. You see the blistering that's happening here? That's because I raised the temperature to 265 in this area, and then when I was doing the ironing operation here, I had it at 245, and that looks pretty darn good. I mean, there's a little bit of like ringing and, kind of like this ghosting ringing that's happening there. But yeah, this stuff was my mistake, because I messed around with the temperature mid-print. I wanted to see the differences between the two temperatures. Maybe it was probably even better to run it at 225 instead of 245. That would have been a little bit nicer finish. That's probably another test I'm going to do. But man, I'm pretty impressed with how the underside of this part looks after you pull the support structure off. I mean, it's literally looking pretty friggin' nice. I mean, that ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. The precision of the machine is showing itself underneath. It looks like it was printed with a dual printhead machine with a water-soluble, filament, and that washed itself away. This is really impressive. Wow. Ludicrous mode carbon fiber. Yeah, so this took approximately 40 minutes, normally a 2-hour job. So damn good job, Bambu Lab people. All right guys, once again, just showing the sample of my first fully printed carbon fiber part with the P1P using the Inland carbon PLA filament that they sell at Micro Center. It's 29 bucks a roll, not a bad price for carbon PLA, some eSun rebranded stuff. Yeah, so again, I want to just, this is in ludicrous mode, guys. This isn't like in quiet mode or standard mode. This is actually quite acceptable for the reduction in the print time. This job would normally take 2 hours and 2 hours and 15 minutes on any other printer. This took about 40 minutes on this machine running on ludicrous mode. The print quality is pretty darn good, with the exception of this line that you see here from when it was working on this entire surface right here, then it transitioned to the little hood, and there's like a little line that might be a possible point of breakage right there in the future if you start kind of, I tried breaking it and I couldn't. It was pretty solidly fused. The machine was printing at 245. In the area of ironing, it looked pretty horrible as it was ironing in the machine in this section, so I was like, well, let me crank the temperature up, and it did, you know, it did worse. It got all lumpy and cruddy up in here. This is a 265, this is a 245. I suspect the temperature should actually be lowered for the ironing operation, somewhere in the neighborhood of 220. That would probably give you a little bit nicer, finish. First off, let me just praise the people at Bambu Labs, whoever programmed the ironing operation. This is pretty cool, man. The way that this ironing operation worked is that it didn't leave any artifacts, or it didn't work its way around these circular features or the holes that you see there. And it blended. When it went to do one little section and had to go around the circle to do another little section, it had like a little blending algorithm to make sure that it would give you a seamless ironing finish. So yeah, pretty mighty impressed with the Bambu Lab Studio software so far. Again, that odd ringing and kind of boiling of the surface right there, that was my fault. I cranked it up for no reason whatsoever. I jacked up the temperature manually mid-print to 265, and it did that right there. It was doing this at 245. The recommended print temperature for this filament from Micro Center is from like 215 to 245. I think the max that they recommend is 245 for this. Yeah, interesting. The surface quality. Get yourself a P1P. This is the damn future, and I am absolutely gobsmacked, blown away, and stunned. Alien technology, guys. That's what this is. Alien technology. Alright guys, so this is the Bambu Labs P1 printed carbon fiber from Inland brand carbon fiber from Micro Center. Using carbon PLA that retails for 29 bucks. And it's looking beautiful. It's printing right now at 250 mils per second in some areas, and it's printing in sport mode. So the surface pretty much here is looking mighty nice compared to the previous print I did in Ludicrous mode. And yeah, I mean, pretty darn impressed by what I'm looking at. We'll see how the ironing operation performs. I'll change it a little bit. Testing and testing, trying to dial in my settings for this machine. So here's where I think the G-code could be helped by the software dev team. When doing the final top layer on those small tight sections, the temperature should be jacked up a little bit in the G-code to try to compensate for the short little bursts of movement. Because on the long sections, the long top fill sections, it looks really beautiful. It looks like as if it was almost had an ironing operation done to them, and that could be just acceptable right there, you know. So perhaps something could be done in the G-code where when it's going to go do a tight little section so it doesn't pull or under extrude, those top layers and make them kind of like uneven looking. I think perhaps a change in temperature could be in order. Yeah, man. Look into it, guys. Bambu Labs people, you almost have the perfect 3D printer here. And I mean, almost have the perfect 3D printer. It's not a Mark IV. With a little tuning, you can get it to Mark IV's levels. Mark IV prints carbon kind of different level, guys. I'll show you an example of that in a minute. Again, just I think I'm kind of impressed by some of how nice it is for how fast it's moving. Right? I mean, that's the thing that's kind of leaving me, kind of blown away a little bit. And then it gets to the tighter sections where it's doing some tight little areas and it starts to mess up a little bit. And that's where I think the software definitely can help fix that little problem right there, and then you can have an amazing deliverable. A machine that could just blow everyone out of the league. The ironing operation in the Creality software, both the Cura and their in-house print software, is a little bit sweeter, a little bit nicer than what I'm seeing so far out of the Bambu Labs. But let's take a look and see what it does the actual ironing operation right there in a few seconds. I think this is the final top layer before it actually is going to do a actual final ironing operation. And there's a bunch of little chattery areas there where I think the ironing operation is going to fail, or it's going to imprint through the ironing operation due to the fact that it's just it didn't lay down the last layer as nicely as it should have. There's things, other crazy filling stuff that I wish it wouldn't do, but anyway, so I think this is it. This is the ironing operation. With a 10% inflow. Looking nice so far, printing at 200 and... What am I printing here? 235, so this is 10 degrees cooler than the last part. 10 degrees cooler. This Inland branded Micro Center eSun carbon PLA recommends max temperature of 230. So I'm a little bit hotter than the recommended temperature. And we'll see how it goes. So far, so good. I think it's going to start to kind of crap out right in these little tight areas over here. So we'll see how she does. I wish there was angle control for the ironing operation. I wish there was, kind of like a going back over feature to kind of give it maybe like 2 ironing operations to try to flatten it out the second time without hurting it. I don't know. There's something that needs to be done here to improve this, and it's damn near on point with a Mark IV printer, guys. This is pretty good. Carbon fiber out of a P1P, looking mighty impressive. I'm blown away. But I need to be, yeah, that's pretty good actually. That's 235, it's looking good. There's a little impression from that imperfect final top layer that's appearing there. There's a little bit of an impression. It's kind of working its way through the ironing operation, which is kind of a bummer. But, come on, focus. Focus, machine. Crappy zoom lens on my iPhone. You want to focus? Let's get close to it. Standard lens. Alright, so there's a little ring in the ironing operation. It's kind of moving too fast. Let's slow it down. No. Just let it do its thing. Don't touch it. Alright, let's take a look and see how this ironing operation is looking. I gotta tell you, I am pretty darn impressed by what I am seeing. Let's get in here and see what we can see. You know what, that's actually pretty damn good. Not exactly absolutely flawless and perfect, but goddamn. That's actually pretty friggin' viable. Yeah, there's a little warping there. Again, the temperature might still be a little too hot. There's a little bit of ringing on the top operation there. We might get an artifact from underneath. but I am mighty impressed by what I am seeing. It is looking pretty sharp, pretty crisp, and I would be very happy to take delivery of this 3D carbon printed part if I ordered it. Yeah, man, impressive. P1P printing carbon fiber, and it's some generic carbon fiber from Inland brand. Carbon fiber from Micro Center, $29 a roll. Hard to find in the stack of many, many boxes of Inland carbon, non-carbon fiber filament that's over there at that store. But I found a box, and here I am testing it. Alright, hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to keep on testing some other carbon filaments with this machine, and I will report. Again, we are taking a look at the P1P printing PETG, and it's rocking out a sport mode right now, 124%. It failed in Ludicrous mode on my previous attempt. Bumped up the temperature on the nozzle to 260 this time around, and it doesn't seem to be minding. It doesn't seem to be minding this sport mode with 260 degrees with a bed at 90. So it looks like it's going to successfully print this time around. Although the top of this surface is looking like it's puddling up almost like a well. Yeah, so thing to note about what my thoughts are on the way that it's printing right now. I think that I'm noticing some incredible levels of detail, mind-blowing levels of detail, much sharper resolution than any printer, aside of a couple of pro-level printers that I've used. XYZ Parts Pro 300 comes to mind when it comes to this level of detail and resolution. It's just so sharp. All I can tell you is that the print quality of this machine so far has absolutely impressed me and amazed me. I cannot give this machine more praise than I can verbally right now to describe the level of, like, holy guacamole, this is a pretty beautiful, accurate print. Incredible. Yeah, so I've been having a lot of failures. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is like one of the successes right here. A few failures, one brilliant success that utterly blows your mind. And here we are. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Alright, printing a large piece in the Bambu P1P in Ludicrous mode. And it's just up in a couple of places, but it's a pretty decent print. Actually, the faster you run it, the better the surface quality ends up kind of looking. Not bad for a print without a housing, without an enclosure. Down below, that was at normal mode, and then I raised it up to sport mode, and then now in Ludicrous mode it seems to be printing a little bit nicer. The side surfaces look a little bit more smooth and a little bit nicer. Yeah, interesting. We'll see how this thing comes out of the machine. The ironing operation kind of failed altogether. Kind of lumpy and kind of testing out the P1P, printing some very old ABS that I had laying around for a moment. Typically this stuff prints beautifully, but it curls up on the edges when you're printing. I put a little bit of that bed adhesion stuff on there that came in the P1P box, and I'm printing at 260 and 95 on the table in Ludicrous mode. Let's see if it fucks up the part. I'm gonna have to bleep that out. And so far, a little deformity, but I mean, you know, wow. That's all I gotta say. Wow. Impressive. Alright, so this is my second test printing some carbon on P1P. checking out the first layer. Using the standard print head, I'm not using the hardened. I ordered it. It's on the way with the upgrade kit. So this is just a standard steel nozzle, 0.4. I'll let you know how this turns out. Yeah. Alright, let's see how this works.